I've known countless authors over the past 12 years who've quit and stopped writing forever. Generational talents who are way better than I will ever be at writing, and they've disavowed it forever. And today I'm going to talk about why so many writers quit, because I have known countless authors who were this close to going full time, this close to getting that breakthrough, and gave it up or ruined their momentum and decided to do a 180 pivot in terms of their writing. And if you guys don't know, my name is Ian, and Write Conscious is the home of the literary renaissance. Here on the channel, I talk about transformative authors and books and help support young authors like you get on bookshelves across the world. And so, the main reason why authors quit and can't handle it, especially in a modern environment, is that they are projecting ideologies from the past or economic realities of the past onto our present reality. For instance, I know countless authors who say, I don't need to market my book. I'm just going to go get a publishing deal. And then when they don't, though, and they realize that only 77 new authors per year get a book deal over $50,000, and almost every single one of those is in genre fiction. When they realize that, then suddenly their motivation crumbles. When they realize that they have to go sit through a PhD and go pander to everyone and act like someone they aren't to get a professor job or grants or fellowships, they crumble. And what they have is nothing except the reality of actually how to become a full-time author in 2025. The same goes with the more whimsical, obsessive individuals who in time immemorial maybe would have been like Basho and writing their poems on bark, or like Rimbaud and not really caring about poetic success, but just kind of writing to write. But to share your writing today, you have to engage on social media platforms, even if it's a somewhat positive one like Substack. And many people can't handle that. And I'll discuss that more in the future, or later in this video, excuse me. But the core reason why authors quit is because they aren't willing to actually put in the work and follow the only guaranteed path of becoming a full-time author, unless you get super lucky, unless you are the one. Because there is a guaranteed path. But the second big problem happens when authors look at the journey they are going to have to make to become the person who can step on that path, who can walk that path, who can have the endurance to get up that specific mountain. And for us in the writing medium, many of us got into this because we had a creative spirit. We knew that we wanted to be in that world, but maybe things like music or the visual arts or film or whatever else didn't necessarily call to us. And because so many people write in school and get to practice creative writing and read fun books and actually have that broken down, then a lot of people are called toward writing. But to be a writer has never been an easy path. Pre-19th century, it was, becoming a fiction author or a poet was almost impossible, and sustaining yourself just from that was almost impossible. And then after the 19th century, or in the 20th century, if you wanted to step into the literary fiction heights, when you sent your work to a slush pile, you were competing with James Joyce, William Carlos Williams, Miller, Hemingway, whoever. And maybe there was easier access to upward mobility, especially if you had some merit, but nonetheless, that was your only chance. The only chance you had was finding a publishing house to put out your work. And if that didn't work, you were basically screwed. So today, that option's gone. Most of the time, the publishing route isn't open to literary and more complex authors. Once again, unless you get lucky or you really know what you're doing to navigate that world. But instead, we all have the opportunity, no matter what we write, to find thousands of fans online through the mass scalable tool of the internet and online publishing platforms. And so the previous generation had to be willing to put in the work and starve. Cormac McCarthy didn't make any money for 20 years, had 2 marriages dissolve, lived in poverty, had to bathe in a lake to get a breakthrough in his writing. It actually took him 3 decades. I don't know anybody with that level of dedication anymore. Like, that is old world stuff. That is, you have to go live in a cabin in Tennessee without any technological distractions to be able to do that. But the challenge that the universe puts in front of us, the challenge that is always asked of a generation to step into, is always our biggest weakness. Because back in Cormac McCarthy's era, he had to sit down and tell everyone, okay, I'm going to dedicate 20,000 hours over the course of 2 or 3 decades, if not more time, to this project. And they're like, what? And because, biographies and social media and stuff didn't exist, most likely his parents, who were born in the late 1800s, didn't understand that there was this opportunity for him to become a multimillionaire superstar through writing, especially through literary writing, maybe through like pulp writing or something. And so McCarthy had to walk in blindness. And there were countless other people who never made it through, who took the exact same path as him and never made it. But they had to walk with blind faith, with no real information out there on how to succeed or how to do it. They just send their work to slush piles and pray. So in contrast, our job today is to overcome our ADHD, our social anxiety, the pitfalls of social media, and all the negativity that's in it. Guys, I get sucked into technology and negative rabbit holes online, or take comments or whatever too seriously all the time. And you may see me talking right here, but the Ian of 7 or 8 years ago, when I embarked on this journey, had anxiety, wasn't ready for this, was terrible at it. And so what also starts to happen as the game keeps evolving is that there is less and less opportunity for people to be undiscovered authors now. If you do not take this path, then you are basically admitting to yourself that your writing is never going to get out there. Because back in the day, there were opportunities for people like Emily Dickinson or Kafka and John Kennedy Toole and other rare exceptions, because there was an industry that still elevated great art through merit. But since the implosion of the publishing industry in the 1990s to basically focus on pure profit, those opportunities have dwindled. And so even if you write your entire life and you're a great author, 4 million books are being published every single year. And I'm sure by the 2030s with AI, that number is going to be over 10 million books per year. And so your undiscovered work, your hard drive or whatever, is just going to fade into eternity. And it sucks. This is a reason that a lot of authors quit, because they know that there is no hope. They know if they don't go on this journey and don't step into that there's little to no hope that they're going to be read. And what's the point of wasting all this time then? Because it's an absolute lie that people feel the need to write most of the time. There are people like Kafka who later in his life were like on his deathbed scribbling, but that's because he became obsessed, because over the course of decades, it became routine in him. But for many of you guys who have maybe not put in 10,000 hours yet, the idea that I need to write or write to live is actually half-baked. And in general, if you feel like writing does some form of soul churning or personal development for you, then if you actually engaged in deeper personal development work like journaling, meditation, solitude in nature, and other things, you would find that it actually is much more effective than writing fiction or writing poetry. And so if you want to write in 2025 and have an unlimited well of motivation to be able to walk through the fire of all this, what you need is a belief in something bigger than yourself. Because if you're just trying to do this to get attention, or to prove everyone that you were right, or to not have to work a job, or to get with hot, nerdy women, or whatever else, that motivation is most likely going to fade unless you are a total egomaniac, unless you just are a grade A narcissist who is ready to just push through everything and make it happen. Most likely that isn't you. And so you're going to fall off somewhere along the way. And I've seen this pattern actually happen many times. I've known many talented authors who start pushing themselves on Instagram or on Substack or whatever. But then I start noticing, I'm like, dude, these guys are flirting with all the ladies. Like, these guys are simping out, for the hot women, let's say, on Substack. And they go to one of these women's poems that's absolutely terrible and say, like, this is better than Pablo Neruda, you're a genius. And I'm like, and I see them getting sucked deeper and deeper in to things that aren't the mission. And lo and behold, they end up quitting. And if you have a purpose, if you are writing something transformative that you believe in and you know is going to help others, then you become quit proof. You become something different because you have control over technology. Technology is this super powerful thing that can suck you in and get you down dopamine rabbit holes. But if you have a mentality that you're going to use technology for good, then you can dominate technology. Then technology becomes a vehicle that you control absolutely. that has no control over you. I know people who have to, who have blockers on their computer and have to use whatever app not to use their phone. But then I also know people who are motivated, let's say with their company that they, their startup project that they are coding, and they spend 15 hours a day on the computer and don't waste any time. They're not going to Fox News or CNN. They're not looking at porn. They're just spending 15 hours doing the work every single day. I know writers like that too. I know plenty of writers who have to lock down their entire computer to write a novel. But if they didn't have that, they wouldn't be writing their novel. They'd be watching me or doing something else. And so instead of trying to sit and fix all your problems and say, I have ADHD or social anxiety and I need blocks on my computer, or I need to get on modafinil or whatever other medication because I was traumatized. Instead, if you raise your mission, if you raise what you are doing, then your body, your soul will follow it. And it's not going to happen overnight, but over the course of 6 to 12 months, if you have a mission, then your entire existence will surround that. And so that's why authors quit, because they don't have that. And they most likely have a romanticized version of how writing is going to go, and that how much people are going to care and all this other stuff. And that's why they fall off. So I want to give a brief eulogy right now to some of the people who didn't make it. I remember back at the community college I went to 12, 13 years ago, there was a woman in one of my classes who was younger than me. She was probably like 18, 19, and she wrote better than Flannery O'Connor. Like, she was at that level. I mean, she maybe didn't have everything together, but she had the potential to become great. And then years later, I ran back into her at a 4-year university and said, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm becoming a nurse. I was like, wow, what happened to the writing? Are you still writing? She was like, no, I applied for some grant and I didn't get it. And so I just decided that I wasn't able to make it, and I didn't get into this fully funded MFA program that I want to. So I'm just going to be a nurse. That generational talent gone. All because she careerified everything. That if it wasn't going to be a career that was going to work out immediately, then it was going to be over. Her ADHD, anxiety, depression also got her down. And now she's heavily medicated on, SSRIs and living a American dream, American nightmare lifestyle. Also knew a writer great fiction author, met him when I was probably 20. He got sucked into the Libertarian Party and in Nevada and just got totally immersed in writing nonfiction and pamphlets for them, and just totally left his fiction writing, which was generational talent from what I could tell, behind him forever. I don't know where he is now, but he died. His artistic spirit died, from what I could tell, because of politics. I could go on and on. I don't want you guys to fall into this rabbit hole. I want you guys to be able to join the literary renaissance and walk towards your dreams. And earlier I was saying there's a guaranteed path to becoming a full-time author. I made a free course that is 3 hours that explains that entire thing. And if you guys want to check that out, the link is down below. If you guys want to go check out my Substack, where the literary renaissance is happening and full-time authors are created every single day, the link to that is down below. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for everything you do, and I will see you very soon in the next video.